what's up, everybody? Welcome to Kitchen Table Conversations, or today you might call it Kitchen Turntable Conversations. Because I'm your host, Jeff, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table, and I'm having a conversation with none other than Brian Martinez, better known as DJ Vow today. Mr.
Yes,
Vow and his wife live in Houston, Texas, with their 3 beautiful kids. And he's joining me today, and looking forward to talking to you a little bit, man. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm not sick, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's good. Your family's healthy and
Family's healthy, baby's healthy.
Good deal.
Church is still going, so I'm good.
Good, man. Good. Hey, I was looking on your website before we started today, and I said, you shared the stage with the likes of Lecrae, Tadashi, KB, Derek Minor, Social Club Misfits. But like I didn't see like my name on there. Like we've shared a stage together before, but I was just I'm sure that was just an oversight.
Yeah, it must be a typo.
Yeah. All right. I didn't know if you knew that. No. Hey, tell me real quick, where'd your stage name come from? DJ Vow, where did that originate?
Originally, because when I first started DJing, I was 12. I got a pair of turntables. And it was around the same time where I really just kind of rededicated my life to the Lord. In the sense of like, I didn't want to just do the church thing. I wanted to be all in. Mm-hmm. And I knew early on that if I was going to pursue this, because for a long time, I didn't want to do anything with the arts. In my mind, I was like, I want to go to XYZ school and do an XYZ job. Mm-hmm. But I just felt God tugging me into the arts. And whenever you're in this world of like urban music, there's so many outlets that they're basically anti-God in a lot of ways. And so I knew that if I made a commitment to pursue the arts, then I wanted it to be only for God. Yeah. And the name Vow comes from, of course, this covenant. So I knew that if I made this covenant with God, and it was part of my stage name, mm-hmm. that I couldn't ever, in good conscience, walk into these anti-God places and do anti-God things with a covenant God name. So in other words, it basically just kicked me out of the clubs. Yeah. You know? And so, because I would listen to all these club DJs on the radio, and I'd be like, man, these guys are trash, but they're getting paid so much money, and I'm not. I'm over here making nothing and doing church events, and can't even get $5 for gas. And so that was always a reminder of like, God, you asked me to do this, and I'm doing it for you. So I trust you in this arts. Cool. And so basically it's stuck. I mean, honestly, like I would say the only people that call me by my first name is my wife and my mom, probably. Really? And everyone just calls me Val. Yeah. So it's been quite the journey, and it's not just like music, it's everything. So it became a lifestyle, like, God, I make this vow to do this for you. Yeah. So yeah, that's where the stage name comes from.
I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Like I was trying to remember, I was like telling my wife, like, what is his first name for real? Like I knew your last name was Martinez, but I had to like Google search around and be like, oh, it's Brian. Yeah, that's it. That makes sense.
That's funny. So, yeah, I don't think you can find a lot of stuff because I was at a church one time for 2 years, I remember, and I had to step out for something, and someone came. As soon as I stepped out, somebody came in looking for me, but it was something with the system. So they were trying to look me up in the system, but nobody knew my real name. I've been in the church for like 2 years. Nobody knew what my real name was. And they were trying to guess. And they thought that my last name was like Velasquez because of the V. But anyways, yeah. It's just,
I didn't want to get into like coming on here and trying to guess your first name and then I didn't want to get all stereotypical, and I wasn't going to do none of that. So
whenever I do speaking engagements, I actually give my real name. But it's part of the actual like introduction. Yeah. So I'll say like, this is my stage name, but since we're family and I'm actually speaking tonight, I'm gonna give you my real name. Oh, so that's the only time I give my real name.
Yeah, that's man. Cool. When I was a youth pastor, like right out of college, I was at this church, and every once in a while I would do like these, like come out and I'd do a rap song or hip hop song. And so like I had a stage name that they kind of gave me one, and they called me Jay Rizzle. And so it was like big time when, you know, Snoop was, everything was for shizzle and this and that. So but I thought I was a little more mature of an artist, and so I changed it to J Raw, because my last name's Roth, and so it's like in my music,
R-A-W?
Yeah, R-A-W, yeah, because my rhymes are so raw. So I actually have or had, I may still have it, I don't know, I had a MySpace page where it had like a couple things that I put out there.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I wrote my wife a song because I was always like, I still just will, I'm not good at it by any means, but like I'll still like freestyle around the house or whatever.
What?
And she was like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. And so like she wanted me to write her a song. And so I wrote her this song. She's really embarrassed of it, I think, now, but it's called I Love You Girl. I'm probably going to have to release it during this quarantine just to,
hey, you know what I'm saying?
Just to help people laugh a little bit.
Bad idea.
Love you.
The song though is my cousins Jay and Matt. They would make beats and then they would put them on MySpace, and so I actually it's 100%
original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means it's good. Yeah. Speaking of names, if you had a boat, what would you name it? Maybe you do have a boat. I don't know, but if you had one, what would you name it?
If I had a boat, I would probably name it. I don't know. Honestly, I'd probably name it the town where my wife's family's from.
Oh, cool.
Which is a little town in the state of Guanajuato, Mexico, called San Felipe.
Okay.
Which is, in English, would be Saint Philip. But it has nothing to do with the actual saint. It's it's more of the memory she had living there.
Yeah.
And I would theme it like this colonial, like old school, like 1800s type stuff.
Nice.
That would be fun, because then that would be something that she would want to be a part of too. You know, it wouldn't be like just me getting away in a boat. You know.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, how has the COVID-19 and everything? How's that impacted, like, you or your family or?
For sure. Well, if I can be 100% honest, man, I was looking at, because 2019, it was kind of like it wasn't a fail by any means, but it was different. A lot of festivals were shutting down. A lot of things were closing its doors. Ticket sales just globally weren't the same. And then 2020 just started off with a big bang. We started off in Atlanta with Passion Conference.
Yeah.
So it was like this big, like epic start. I mean, 65,000 people at the event.
Wow.
And then I'm talking with Social Club, and they're playing the biggest tour ever. And then my own solo events, I had the biggest solo event to date scheduled in March.
Oh.
And then I had my first Canadian solo event scheduled. And just in a matter of 2 days, everything was gone. Like everything was over. Everything was canceled. Basically, the events in the summer were kind of like, hey, we're holding off. And then at the end, they were just like, hey, we can't do this anymore. So to give you a summary of my life for the last year. So in October, because I mean, I have been talking with people for a long time, but in October, I decided to just take this God leap, and move to Houston. So I came to Houston. I'm from the Dallas area. Come to Houston, brought my whole family down. Didn't know exactly like why. I know I have a heart for the church, so I came down to Houston, started working with the church, doing the arts, graphics, videos, all that kind of stuff. And I remember like I would have this ongoing battle, like, man, did I make the right decision? The church was super cool about me traveling, so I would come in, do work, and then hit the road. And then a lot of times I was, sending stuff online from a bus, a tour bus, or an airport. And but I just kind of felt like this ongoing battle, like, man, why am I doing this? And as soon as everything happened with Corona, I was like, God, this is why you brought me to Houston. I would have literally been out of everything, out of a job, out of completely everything. Like, because literally in 2 days, everything just shut down.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow, I have peace. Like, this is awesome. Like, I'm still working for the church and we're still going, even though we're not having services.
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm the video guy, I'm just cranking out videos all day. Matter of fact, we have a shoot that starts here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So like, that's really like, it has affected us, but I'm just grateful, you know?
Yeah.
Like my wife has peace. I would just imagine if I was back home, she would be really worried right now.
Yeah.
Because literally, the last 6 years were just full-time travel.
Yeah.
And in coronavirus, you can't travel. So
I know.
what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, some of my friends are doing okay. Other ones are doing better than others. And as of right now, we just don't know when this ends.
Right.
We don't know we don't know when it's going to go back to normal. So I'm thankful to be at the church right now.
Yeah.
Still doing God's work, just in different ways, you know, but it's affected all of us.
That's the crazy thing about it is it's so uncertain, man. It's just like it's still kind of escalating here, and I don't know. It's tough, man. But you know, I've had some people that talked about you know, how on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, they're going to throw like the biggest party ever when this is over. So you should have like lots of opportunities, right? You know, people.
Yeah. You would think, right? Because you have the people that are ready to get out and do things, but then you have the people that are like extremely skeptical about everything.
Oh yeah.
So it takes both types of people to pull off great events.
Yeah.
You can't just have the party guy everywhere, because the party guy doesn't pay attention to details. So like, you need the detailed person to put it a successful event. So I don't know. Like, I really don't know how many months it'll take. Even if they say, hey, all doors are open again, I don't know how long it'll take to get back to normal.
Yeah.
And a lot of these events have lost so much money.
Yeah.
I don't think they can recover that quick. And so, think about the church. How many churches are closed? And think about just the giving aspect of things.
Yeah.
People don't give the same when they're watching a stream as opposed to when they're in the presence, you know, in community.
Yeah, definitely.
So I really don't know like how long this will take to go back to normal. You know, we're just kind of like taking it day by day.
It might just be a new normal. Like, I don't think we can really tell what the whole post-corona, you know, church is going to look like.
For sure.
Right now.
Yeah, so. But day by day, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. So I know you have something coming up. Let me hit you with some questions, and you maybe just give me some quicker answers, okay?
Sure.
What about your like favorite moment on tour? Do you have a favorite moment on tour? Or
Yeah. So it wasn't this past fall, but the one before that, so it'd be 2018. We had the opportunity to go on tour with Sadie Robertson. And I didn't know, at the time, I didn't know anything about Sadie Robertson. All I knew was she was the daughter of Duck Dynasty guy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up watching Duck Dynasty, so I didn't really know how things were. Like, I was thinking, man,
you strike me like a Duck Dynasty guy.
Right? got the big going. No, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if we were going to have celebrity vibes.
Yeah.
I didn't know, I didn't know anything. So we go into this, and then honestly, we had been so busy, I didn't have time to research anything. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch a single YouTube video. I didn't do a single Google search because we were just so busy.
Yeah.
Flying to Nashville, jump on this bus. From the bus, we go to the first city. Mind you, I didn't see her the night we jumped on the bus because we had a separate bus. So we land on this. I think we started in Illinois or somewhere. I forgot where it was. So the morning of, we wake up the next day. We're at this big church, and then we get off the bus, and the first person that comes to greet us is Sadie, but I didn't know it was her.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what she looked like.
Yeah.
So she comes and greets us. Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna have a great time. My brother's a huge fan. All these things. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then they said that was Sadie. I was like, oh, wow, she's really cool. So we start the tour. And that day at 3 p.m., they said, hey, we have devotionals. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So we get in there. Well, Sadie actually a tour pastor, right? So on this tour, she was speaking, but she also had a worship band, and she decided to bring Mosaic worship.
Mm-hmm.
So for every day on tour, we literally had a service.
Wow.
And Mosaic led worship. And so it was really cool. Mind you, she comes from Duck Dynasty, right? So she's obviously blessed with resources. We ate so well on that tour. we had like, she would bring out chiropractors, and it was like, wow, this is really cool. And then if you would walk into the worship center, like whether it's a sanctuary, wherever we were, if you walked in around 5 p.m., which was the time when the sound guys were done, all sound checks were over. So we had this window of like 2 hours between 5 and 7 when we started. If you walked in around 5:30, her and her family would be laid out praying.
Wow.
Just praying over the building, like over chairs, everything. Those are like, we had so much fun. Even though every night when we get on stage, nobody knew who Social Club was, nobody knew who DJ Vow was. Every night was a major win because everyone wanted to be there. So even though it was 90% teeny bopper, Generation Z, whatever you want to call it, every night was a major win.
Yeah.
Because everyone just wanted to be there. Everyone got along. Sadie handpicked everyone on tour. Everybody from the sound guy to the lighting guy, they were all legitimate people. So that was a really fun tour. She also sold out 18 of the 20 cities. So every night was just a big party.
Packed house, yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of leads me to kind of my next question here. Like, I've been following some of your Twitter insights, and you've been kind of revealing like just your experiences with people in the past, and like even from from Southern gospel to hip hop. Like, I've heard stories from people over the years where they talk about, you know, this dude or this lady or these people who are so well known for singing about the faith, but like they've like told me like stories about like backstage, man, it's like a different world. Like, you know, this dude's cheating on his wife and this is happening. Like, why do you think it is so hard to stay humble and maintain your integrity and be so well known? And I think that's cool. You just said that about Sadie. Like, why do you think that's so difficult for people?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. For one, I think a lot of people don't ever take the time to build a foundation. People see like this picture of success and they think it just happens overnight, or they just want that. They don't actually want to see what happened before that.
Yeah.
For me, like, I spent an entire year at a really small Baptist church in the middle of his neighborhood in Fort Worth, Texas, and I would meet with my pastor once a week. And we went over some really heavy material. Yeah. I mean, really heavy things. And I was literally for a year just there. And it was during that time, there was nothing happening, no events. I mean, maybe one or two. Really no, I mean, obviously there was no travel at that time. But it was just me and my pastor, and all I did was grow, right? So I just grew. Mind you, he went on to do other things, moved to a different city. I went other directions, but I always had this foundation. Yeah. Another thing is people don't ever, quote unquote, pay dues. And so they don't know what it's like to stack chairs at a church. They don't know what it's like to clean a toilet at a church. Yeah. They don't really know what it's like to, do this behind the scenes type things. They just kind of want to be on stage. And sadly what happens is we see these really talented people that are new believers, and we put them on stage without ever like really building any sort of foundation. Yeah. Another thing that happens is certain cultures within certain churches treat their guests almost like royalty, which for one part it's fine, but another side of it is like, hey, we're still serving in the house of the Lord, Right. This isn't Queen Elizabeth that's coming. I feel like people get entitled to that. Yeah. And so they almost demand it, and they get to the point where they kind of feel like they're above scripture, above, these things. And so another part is too, a lot of the people that travel never actually make it home in time for church. So they never fight to get that 5 a.m. flight, 3 hours of sleep to get to church. So there's no accountability there.
Yeah.
So they go long periods of time without being a part of any church.
Mm.
I mean, I won't name them, but I know personally people that haven't been members of churches for years.
Yeah.
But they travel in the church circuit, which is kind of an oxymoron if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I walk into a house, I always want to, you know, obviously give the respect to the pastor and respect to the house, but you just know certain things. Certain things are universal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you're brought up in a Baptist church or, you know, XYZ church, like you just know, like, hey, I'm here to serve. It's an honor to be on the stage. I may not do things back home like they do them here,
yeah,
but we all have the same mission in mind. We're all serving people, you know. So if you don't know that, you just kind of walk in demanding everything. And then once you leave a certain level of success, and once you get to a certain point where you're only doing venues, stadiums and that kind of thing, then you're even more disconnected.
Sure. Yeah.
Because at that point you're just doing show business.
Yeah.
And so you can get to a point where you're so disconnected from reality that you're quote unquote bare rear-ended out there. Like nobody's out there covering you. Nobody's out there holding you accountable to anything. And then people just wild out, you know?
Yeah.
And then other times there's people that have success and have done great, but they have these seasons of like drought, maybe a season where they lose a loved one or what have you. And then they fall into these pits where like they really don't have anyone they can call for help because they never took the time to build that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then, I mean, if you have access to things, if you have money, if you have success, it's way easier to fall into like really bad stuff, you know, like you're in the cities, you're traveling, you're flying first class. I mean, no one's there to stop you. And the teams that you build, if you don't build them right, they'll do everything you want to do. They won't be there to correct you.
Just a bunch of yes men.
A lot of these artists will hit such high level of success that they need like guys who are experienced in the industry. So they end up hiring road managers who know nothing about God.
Yeah. So
they'll be on the road with non-believers constantly. So there's no one ever even trying to pour into them.
Wow.
So it's just like this. I mean, there's a lot of things that can cause that. But I mean, it's unfortunate. But I mean, now with Corona, nobody's traveling. So
maybe this will be a great time for everybody to build their foundation.
Go back to church.
Back to reality.
Online.
Go to church online. Hey, let me give you, if you got time for 2 questions real quick.
Sure.
Okay. If you could time travel, where would you go?
Honestly, I would like to see I don't know a whole lot about my family on my dad's side. I would love to go at least meet his mom and spend time with his family. Likewise on my mom's side of the family, I don't know much about them. So like, I would like to go back and see that, meet them. That would probably explain a lot about my own kids. Because I look at my son, I'm like, where does that come from? Like, I don't, like his personality traits. I'm sure it's somewhere in the family. I just don't know it. So, I mean, I guess I would go back to late 70s, early 80s, something like that.
All right. Now, what 3 famous people, living or dead, would you like to share a kitchen table conversation with?
There's an artist. He's a French guy named DJ Snake. Okay. I can tell by listening to some of his stuff that he was brought up in a somewhat religious home. He has said spiritual things in the past, and I would like to at least have a moment to like try to answer some of his questions in regards to God, creation, a savior. You know, I would love to be that influenced. Man, you said 3.
Yeah, that's 1.
I mean, I would like to sit down maybe with, someone like Timbaland.
Okay.
Kind of pick his brain on how he does things. And he recently produced a track for King and Country. Okay. I would want to know why. What led you to do that? Are you seeking, and even though he passed away, I would love to have a moment with Billy Graham. Yeah. Talk to him about travel and family and how he did things. Yeah, he would have some insights for sure, man. Yeah. Like, he's like the perfect example of the opposite of what I was talking about earlier. I mean, like he was everywhere,
I mean, he was as busy as anybody and as famous as anybody. And yet,
for sure.
I mean,
I've met some of his family, but I never got to meet him before he passed.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I thank you so much for your time. I know you gotta run, man. I appreciate it. It was good catching up with you. And
likewise,
hope you and your family and your 3 kids are doing well.
Yeah. Dad of 3 now.
Give them my best, man. God bless you, bud.
Thank you, brother.
We'll see you later.
All right.